Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Profiling Evil Live. I'm here with my good friend DutyRon. And Ron, I am so grateful that you took time to take some time out with me. I know it's getting late for you on the East Coast, and I think we might have put the pumpkin to bed with Ed. What's the word?
Well, Mike, as you know, listen, first and foremost, it's always a pleasure to come live with you on Profiling Evil because you have some of the greatest true crime enthusiasts on your channel. So anytime you give the call, we come running. Ed is in Morocco, so he's teaching from with the Department of State in Morocco, and it's 5 hours ahead. So he's looking at 2 a.m. But he's a tough guy, and he admitted to me. He said, "For Mike King, I'm going to come live. I'm going to wake up, set my alarm." Hence, fast forward to 20 minutes ago, he sent me a message and said, "My eyes are, I can't keep them open." So we got to cut Ed Wallace a little bit of a break. He's a trooper. And he may even show up. You never know with him.
Well, and like I said to you, folks, I mentioned at this age, you may make several bathroom stops in the night. So I said, as soon as his guilt gets to him, he may sign on and surprise us all. But I want to shout out to the folks that are starting to come in tonight. It's so good to see you all. And thank you for our mods. And everybody, thank you for the support that you always give us here at Profiling Evil. And I know that you're giving DutyRon all kinds of support as well. And if you are not a subscriber to DutyRon, please, folks, make sure you're going over there and subscribe to him. You're growing like crazy, Ron.
Thank you, Mike. And listen, I'm here on your channel. I want everyone to subscribe, and I shared on my community tab for everyone to come on over here. So welcome to everyone who we like to cross-pollinate all of our subscribers. So most of my people are your people and vice versa. Ed and I are doing a lot of educational live streams, and we like to say, hey, what we're doing on YouTube is different than most. And I like to come here because I could learn from you as well. We're trying to grab the true crime enthusiasts and take them away from the toxic situations and tell them, how it really happens. And, we can walk the walk and talk the talk. Ed is a wealth of knowledge. I learn things from Ed Wallace every time I talk with him. We go out to dinner with our better halves, and we sit down, and the girls go into talking about hair and makeup, and then we talk about crime. So it's
well, I bet most of the people that listen to our channels are not talking hair and makeup, and most of them are women, and they're talking true crime. And I'll tell you what, it blows my mind how educated they are becoming as time goes on. I mean, we had the benefit of sitting in the saddle or sitting in the patrol car and the detective unit and the undercover car and learning this art and science of law enforcement. But I think that's one of the really cool things about the true crime community is that it gives people an opportunity to start to understand what the principles are behind investigations and why we might move a little slower than they would want us to move in certain kinds of cases, and why we're confounded sometimes. Our gut tells us somebody's guilty, but it ain't ever going to happen in court. And we may have a couple of cases like that happening right now that we're going to talk about tonight.
Oh, yeah. There's a ton of cases that are brewing that are in the media right now and are ongoing. Chad Daybell, Karen Reed, and there's in this Karen Reed thing, Mike, and I don't know which one you want to start with. You have one side who is, for the prosecution and the police, and the other side is for Karen Reed, and it's like there's no in between. But I waited to watch opening and watch this trial. It just started last week, and today was just a mind-blowing experience from following it for over 32 years. I've kind of never seen such testimony that I witnessed today, but I'll let you talk a little bit.
Yeah, well, I think we'll talk about that in a moment. I want to just shout out a couple of people. Oh, yeah. Trish Norman was first on tonight, ahead of schedule, making sure she was ready to roll there. But Forrest Nelson, Simi Sharp, just a batch of folks. Dawn Marie, always great. She says, "I love this panel." Well, Dawn, I hate to let you down, but Ed may not make it. He's in Morocco, but if he doesn't make it, I have this really special guest joining us tonight, Ron, and people are going to be really pleased to hear him. But Colleen Gonzalez, Nancy Drew, just everybody, thank you so much. And just know that as we get rolling, always appreciate any donations you want to throw our way. But the super chats sometimes get a little attention over others, and I'm going to try to keep on top of this as we talk, Ron. But I want to chat a little bit about Karen Read first and foremost before we talk about what happened today, and share with you a concern that I've had. I frankly have been pretty limited in what I say because there is such tribalism in this particular case and mean-spiritedness going on that I just am pulling back, because I really believe our viewers are smart enough to make up their own mind. We don't need people jamming down our throats whether somebody's right or wrong. Let's just look at the facts.
Right. And that's what we always talk about, Mike, because as we know, being in the criminal justice system as the first line responders, as police officers, as detectives, as you were a commander, we can't go based on our feelings and what is being speculated out there. We have to look at the facts. And when we present our case to the district attorney, it has to be all in order. And we have to, bring that case forward based on evidence and facts. And a lot of people who follow these stories, they get caught up in all of the, different avenues of speculation, and court cases are not won on speculation, as we know. And I think most of our followers and subscribers and people who are watching Profiling Evil and Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, you get a kind of an education of that. And sometimes people don't like to hear that because they really want the shock and awe, but we never deliver on that because that's not how the criminal justice system operates.
Yeah. Jenny, thank you so much. Love having you on here as well. And thanks, folks, for all your support along the way. It's really interesting to me, Ron, because you do bring up something that is so frustrating to law enforcement. That's that revolving door that even when you do bring a case together, a predator is out on the street before you even get a chance to get paperwork done. And I'm not going to belabor that point other than to say that when you have a case that you think is pretty strong, but the DA says ain't going to happen, oh man, you about chew your tongue off, but that's the process. And Jenny, thank you so much for that kind donation as we continue talking. I'm here with DutyRon, everybody. Y'all know the guy. He's like a megastar in the true crime community, but most importantly, he's been my friend since day one. And we share this really unique brotherhood of, we understand how fun policing can be when you're all alone in a bar fight and there's no backup for 5 minutes away or something like that. But and Ron, before you answer to that, I want to shout out In the Dark. Thank you so much for that kind donation as well. And folks, I think you're going to see kind of the benefits of some of your donations tonight a little later when this special guest shows up. So thank you.
I'm so looking forward to it, Mike. You gave me a little bit of a preview of our special guest that's coming on, and it's truly going to be an honor to be on panel with this individual. I can't tell you how many times I've gone down to the Kings County, that's Brooklyn District Attorney's office, and had a great case folder, and tons of evidence, tons of things, and I had the writing district attorney turn around and say, "Hey, detective, hey kid, you got to go out and get me more." And it's frustrating, but this is part of the job that doesn't get sensationalized and doesn't get put out onto these various court TV and News Nation and so forth. But that's a part of the grunt work that goes on with detectives. And New York City, and I'm a little partial, Mike. New York City detectives, they say, are the greatest detectives in the world, and I had the opportunity to work over a decade in the Fugitive Enforcement Division, and some of the greatest detectives. And, we worked with the U.S. Marshals Task Force. They were embedded. We were embedded with them. They were embedded with us. And when I hear these cases, when the U.S. Marshal Service is involved, I know they got some of the top notch, and I know you know that, Mike. They got some of the top notch investigators, and if somebody needs to be found, and you hear the U.S. Marshals are involved, you know that they're going to be brought to justice. So it's a great thing, and I'm happy to share that.
Always makes me smile when you talk about the great detectives and great police officers in New York City. Forrest Nelson, thank you so much for gifting memberships. Really do appreciate that. And Tracy, thank you for that very kind super sticker as well. It's funny to me, Ron, because I remember the first time I worked with Texas Rangers, and they are every bit as arrogant as New York City cops. And I found cops in every single city that I've worked with. And for the last 17 years, I've dealt primarily with the 60 largest police departments in the world. Tokyo thinks they're the smartest on the planet. Mexico City thinks they are. And I'm reserving my vote till the end, like maybe right before I die. I might share who I think, but you know what I found? And this is a lesson I learned from a Chicago PD cop, and tell me what your thoughts are on this. I had been investigating cold cases and homicide for probably 10 years at this point. I was serving as the VICAP co-chair for the National VICAP Board. Mm. And I was in Chicago PD working on a murder case with an officer there that had some joint capability. And I said to him, I was just so overwhelmed by the number of homicide cases that he had on his docket. And I said, you don't know what I would give to be able to come and work in a city like this for a couple of years to get those under my belt. Mm-hmm. And his response changed my thinking about law enforcement across the country. And I think about Daybell right now, or think about Canton, which we can say good or bad. Think about the Moscow 4, the policing that's going on there. This Chicago detective, who was probably a 35-year cop by this point, said to me, you don't know what I would give for a lighter caseload so that I could actually work a murder instead of just report on it.
Mike, a valid point. Sometimes our detectives in busy jurisdictions are juggling multiple cases. And, it's not what you see on TV where they're going out and solving these crimes in 48 hours. It takes sometimes years, as you have in your writings, in your books. And, sometimes cases don't get solved for decades. I would always be stressed out because I'd have over 100 cases that I would hold. And when my RDOs, my regular days off, and I love this choir practice because we could talk like cops. When my RDOs would come up, Mike, and I was holding 100 cases, and this was a varied caseload of people who committed robberies, rapists, burglars. We had the worst of the worst. So I had a combination of a lot of different things, and I categorized them all, based on the 7 majors. And when I would go RDO, my regular day off, I would be thinking my whole weekend, what's one of my guys going to do? Are they going to commit another crime? Are they going to go out and shoot somebody? Are they going to go out and rob somebody? And if they did, God forbid, it would be on me, because the chief of the fugitive would call me into his office and say, hey, Liccardi, why didn't you get this guy? And my boss was Joe Resnick. So you know him, I think. Joe Resnick was a real bad guy when you were on the wrong side of him. But he was a cop's cop. If there was an investigation that needed to be done, if I, God forbid, came up missing, I'd want Joe Resnick going out there, because he was a stickler for perfection. So yeah.
Isn't that cool though? Because it always gave you a higher level to shoot for. And Cat's Meow, I want to shout you out. Thanks so much for helping us out here. And thanks for the support that all of you give us. I don't know about you, but I get these heartwarming emails from people that say, hey, I'm on a fixed income. I can't help. And what do you mean you can't help? You're helping by just being a part of this whole thing. And those that can put a little money down, we really appreciate it. And I know you do, Ron, and I certainly do. It's just amazing what people put out.
Yeah, and the great part about that, Mike, is when people send those messages, I get them all the time. just by watching these videos and watching the replays and leaving comments and so forth, that is an engagement with the channel. And you guys, without reaching into your pocketbooks or your wallets or your monthly budget, you could do it for free. You could support us for free, and that's a great part. And that's what makes this community that we share so great, because the ladies and gentlemen, and primarily ladies, watch us, Mike. Let's face it. I mean, the analytics don't lie. The ladies that come on here, they are second to none. They are really true blue, and we love and respect you guys tremendously.
Yeah, I agree. You mentioned this is choir practice, and I'm going to let a few of the members describe what choir practice is, because there's always somebody that says, "Hey, I just logged in. What on earth is choir practice?" And I guarantee, well, I don't guarantee it. I guarantee I'm not going to be singing tonight. Who knows if Ron will, but I'm here with DutyRon, and many of you subscribe to his channel. If you don't, please go over and consider subscribing to him. Ron, we'll come back and I'll get your opinion of what choir practice was to a New York City cop, because for every department had a little bit of a different twist and flavor, but across the board, it really is all the same. And anyway, it is really exciting. So tell me a little bit about what happened today with Karen Reed, because we had a long discussion about this, that was so upsetting to you, and frankly is one of these moments when you just really scratch your head and think, oh, are we really doing stuff like that still?
Yeah, it's kind of a moment of things that make you go, and I think about police officer John O'Keefe, because obviously we're true blue, right? We back the blue, our brothers and sisters, and I've said this to you many times, Mike, and you reiterated it in your opening. If you were in a bar fight or something was going on and I was around, you can count on me, and I know I could count on you. And that's really part of the brotherhood. And it's not just about fighting, it's just about backing each other up. But what I saw today, and primarily I was listening to it because I'm director of security at an Amazon affiliate. So, I run a 35 and a 25,000 square foot warehouse. So I'm running through the warehouse, I'm multitasking, but I'm paying attention with my Bluetooth headphones on, and I'm listening to the Canton police lieutenant talk about collecting evidence and getting a snowblower and blowing snow around. And I immediately thought of what I learned over my 20 plus years, is that, I was fortunate enough to work for the largest municipal police department in the United States, the NYPD. We had 40, when I started in 91, Mike, Mayor David Dinkins started that Safe Street, Safe City plan. And what that was is, a bolstering of the New York City Police Department. We were, I think, down to around 32,000. We were up over 40,000 members. So when we had crime scenes, we had the illustrious crime scene unit where Ed Wallace worked. So when we had these type of cases, and if it involved a member of the service, and let's take out of the equation, and Mike, you could stop me from rambling at any time. The Canton Police Department is a smaller police department in comparison to the Boston Police Department, but it would be like the NYPD having a Nassau County or a Suffolk County police officer die in our jurisdiction. We would go full tilt and throw our whole kitchen sink at it. That would mean that every T would be every I would be dotted and every T would be crossed. And our lieutenants and captains and duty inspectors that would come onto the scene of this incident would ensure for not only the victim, but his family and his blue family, that the justice would be served. And in this case, what I saw today, and I'm getting emotional right now, what I saw today was a complete and utter failure. And I don't like to say this. I don't even like to have this conversation. But Mike, I went on with Attorney Melanie Little, I introduced you to her. I went on her show with her late in the day. I was running around the warehouse. I went into a quiet office and I took 5 minutes to just explain to her audience. And she had 12,000 people watching her live. I said to her, Melanie, I do not have anything good to say about this. Using a leaf blower, red Solo cups, using ShopRite bags to put evidence in, and the things that I heard today just blew my mind. Mike, I'm just going to go put it over to you and your thoughts.
No, I felt the same way. I was very disturbed by even something as simple as, which might sound like a good idea to some people, a snowblower to blow off the soft, fluffy new snow. But with that, it blows off hair fibers or clothing fibers or fibers that might have transferred from a vehicle in this particular case. And so I really got worried about that, and it really troubled me. And then I thought, why didn't somebody just put a tent up over the top of that if it's continuing to snow, and get that thing preserved and close it off? But it's always easy to Monday morning quarterback. And again, I don't want a quarterback, other than I want to call out things that I think are going to be problematic, because again, this case is such an emotional case. Regardless of what happens, there is going to be 50% of the public that's happy and 50% that's mad. And that there is some real, not only divisiveness, but there's some real mean-spiritedness and attacking that's going on. And I think it takes away from the truth. And I guess the question I got for you, Ronnie, is that, so let's assume, and folks, I'm not saying this because this is my opinion, but let's assume Karen Read is responsible as the state is projecting. If there is this much distrust in the investigation, could they ever get a conviction based on that kind of a level of distrust? And what does it do to the rest of the profession that I don't believe is dishonest?
Mike, you bring up this is a great conversation right here, because in my appearance with Melanie Little, I made a mention of, look, this is one bad apple doesn't spoil it for the whole group. Law enforcement across our great country, across the United States, are doing their jobs the right way. This is the minority here. Thank God we don't hear about this. I haven't heard about a situation like this in over 33 years being involved in law enforcement. So I say to my friends here and my followers and the people who are part of our community, this is not indicative of what our great law enforcement are doing across the country. And when I text Ed Wallace in Morocco, this is how upset I was. I texted Ed, and he told me about the tent, an open bottom tent. They could have used imaging cameras. They could have used a metal detector, and they could have sifted through the snow with a sifter. So they did not take those. They did not take any initiatives. And the lieutenant, by his own admissions, the Canton Police, the lieutenant, he admitted that he had never investigated a homicide. In fact, he went one step further, Mike. He said, I never had a homicide scene in inclement weather like this. So you are working in Canton, Massachusetts, which is up north past where I work, and you've never had in 37 years one crime scene with snow in it. I found that unbelievable to even... it was a hard pill for me to swallow, because in my first week out of the academy, I had a double murder in the snow. So, and I came out of the academy on Halloween, October 31st, 1991, my first night on the street, Halloween. So double murder in the snow. So look at this. I mean, you have a police executive that had no knowledge on how to handle a crime scene, secure that scene, call in the professionals, call in the state police, call in whoever you had to call in to handle this, and it wasn't done. And that's the problem. I cried inside for police officer Michael O'Keefe's father and mother. I cried inside for his brother and his siblings. I cried inside for the people of Canton, because they now have to be saying to themselves, what in God's name is going on here? What happens if I get killed? This is a police officer. What is going to happen when a Joe Blow or Miss Mary gets killed? What? That's my big problem.
The interesting thing is, and I think that the foundation was in place for more collaboration, because I remember that lieutenant saying, hey, I held over the night shift. I told him to stick around. So he had double a contingent of officers. And like you say, when you call for help in these jurisdictions, you can get help pretty darn quickly. It doesn't take that much to secure a scene and not move forward. But I also want to be a little bit of a devil's advocate and say, we all have made mistakes, but what you learn with experience is to collaborate more on the decision, not be sometimes in a command position. You got to make the decision, but you only do it after you've listened to all the smart people around you,
Yeah.
and then say, hey, this is what makes it. And it reminded me of an old patrol sergeant I had. His name was Sergeant Comby. And I remember as a young officer going to him with this problem, and I said, here's the problem. What am I going to do? And he said, get out of my office. And I said, my eyes were big and wide. And he said, I want you to go out to your patrol car and sit for 10 minutes and come back with 3 things that could happen out of this, what your 3 options are according to you, and then we'll talk about it. But I want to know you've at least thought this thing through before you say, what do I do? Help me or bail me out. And it changed my entire career, Ron, because I never went to a commander after that I didn't say, here's the problem. Here are, I think, 3 solutions to it, but I want to know your thoughts on it. This is the one that I would take out of the 3, and here's why. And it changed my whole attitude of policing, investigating, and in supervising.
You know, Mike, we have different opportunities. Like when I worked again in the New York City Police Department, I was around so many different supervisors. But I know for a fact Boston Police Department has an elite crime scene unit. Once they were notified that one of their own was deceased, you know, I was hoping that we would have seen or heard in court testimony that the Boston Police crime scene unit came out there and assisted. But they weren't even called. They weren't even asked to come out to Canton. So that's the insane part. I want to just give you a quick story, and I'm not going to ramble about this one, but early on in my career, I was driving a sergeant. He was a rookie sergeant, and he worked in the New York City Police Department, 5 boroughs: Bronx, Staten Island, Manhattan, Queens, and Brooklyn. He worked in one of the quieter places in Brooklyn South. And he came to Brooklyn North, where I was working in the 7-5 precinct. But we were in housing. We patrolled public housing. So this rookie sergeant takes me, a 5-year hairbag, to drive him. You know, I had 5 years on the street. And he had not a clue of how to handle things. And it was very eye-opening to me. We had a call for an emotionally disturbed person. I had to tell him the steps on who to make the notification to. Oh, wow. And I did this all behind the scenes while I was driving him around from call to call. So I said to him, and I'm not going to call him out here because he went on to become a chief and retired out of 1 PP, a very prominent 3-star chief, but he had not a clue. And, you know, we're still friends to this day. And he helped me out with a couple of situations with my family. When my mom was passing away, he got the NYPD ambulance to come out to my mom's house. He did it for my father. But we were friends. And my good buddy, I'm not even going to say his first name because he probably would listen to this and crucify me. But he had not a clue on his first days out of BMOC. And I gave him my experience and knowledge because I was an experienced 5-year patrol guy. We would come out on a late tour and they were holding 150 jobs, 150 calls for our squad to go and answer. 4 to 12 at midnight, we'd have maybe 50 to 25 cops, and we'd have to handle that kind of the volume. So it's just a story about, you know, just because you're a supervisor doesn't mean that you know it all. It depends on where you worked and how much experience you had.
Well, you know, it brings up Sarah Sunshine. Thank you so much. These are life lessons. And that's the cool part about choir practice is we chat about things that maybe we wouldn't talk about. When you were talking, I had this flashback of an officer who was working narcotics, and I was working the tactical team one night, which was an unmarked police car. And we were plain clothes. And I saw him doing something that I thought was pretty stupid. And I had a little, peer-to-peer counseling session. He later became my chief. And it's those experiences that, again, when we talk about care and read, you need to have that kind of leadership and subordinate relationship that in a professional and an appropriate way, you can call somebody out and say, hey, here's something that I might be able to bring to the table. But I want to pause for a second, and I want to bring in a really special soul here. Everyone, this is Andrea Lithgow. Ron, you have been waiting to meet Andrea. And Andrea, I don't know if your sound's on, so I'm going to test you first.
I think so. Is it on?
You are on.
Yeah. Okay.
So, everyone, Andrea Lithgow, this was a really special day, and I don't know, both of us are smiling from ear to ear. And Andrea, I'm going to let you maybe after share how we came to know each other, and but I want to just start off first by saying this is Andrea Lithgow, and I just have something I want to just play on my computer screen real quickly to kind of set the stage for this. So give me a thumbs up, Ron, if you got the audio, and here we go. This was this morning in Los Angeles, Ron. And look at those tears starting to come. In fact, I'm going to just thicken the pot a little bit and bring somebody else in, Andrea.
No. Who's that?
Andrea S. Lithgow.
Now, I wish I could. Let me see. I need to pause that. I wanted to pause that right there on that photograph of this. There we go. Now,
doing right.
And I want to welcome Andrea's sister, Laura. And Laura, thank you for coming on. And
Andrea, because the profile in evil is blocking her. I can't see it.
Oh no!
Yeah, I was like, I don't know who this is.
Change it. Change me.
She didn't text me.
Hold on. Here we go. Now we're on.
Great.
So,
always helping out, Mike.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you did that. Now this photograph is when Andrea, I think, was 14 years old. Is that right, Andrea?
Oh no, I was 11 in that photograph.
Oh, yeah. 11.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
but Andrea received her master's degree today in Los Angeles, and Bonnie and I were unable to be there, but we were so thrilled. We watched the entire commencement via a link that Andrea sent us, and Ron, I know you'll have questions, and I'm sure Laura might, but Andrea, tell us what today was like.
Very surreal, actually, super surreal. I mean, I don't know, a master's degree is just a lot of work, first of all, and you think you're never going to get done. And I was just so proud of myself, and like listening to them speak and saying, you guys are the ones that are going to be the voices and all this shit. I was like, oh, they're talking about me, and just like, it feels good to be a part of something bigger than just your own little self and your own little like traumatized mind, and I feel like I'm becoming part of society, and like, it feels really great to be educated after our childhood. That you're gonna right, Laura? Where's my sister?
Yes.
Well, Laura, what I mean, thank you for coming on. You might have a few things to say to Andrea first, and then Ron, I'm going to give you a chance to ask a couple of questions or just make some compliments. And Andrea, I don't know if you can see, but there are lots of people just so happy for you and writing such wonderful comments.
Thank you.
In the chat box. But when Laura's done and Ron asks any questions he's got, maybe you could just say how we came to know each other, if you want to say how we came to know each other.
You want me to go?
Yes, you're in charge now. Of course,
No,
you've been in charge most of your life, haven't you?
We met, 32 years ago?
Yes, we did.
On
I'll let you take
Friday
it from
morning.
there.
A balmy August morning.
I wasn't actually there at the moment. Andrea was. I was at work. Thankfully.
Well, so Laura, were you able to watch commencement today?
No, I was at work, so I was not able to watch it live.
So you'll be able to watch it on the link tonight. It was so fun, and just all the different ranges of emotions and ages that were getting degrees, and it was so fun to hear everybody explode with cheers and claps for Andrea when she came out, and we were screaming at home. But Ron, and Laura and Andrea, Ron is a retired New York City police detective, longtime friend, and we're doing tonight something we call choir practice, which for police officers, I'm going to let the cat out of the bag. It's something that started years ago with an old Joseph Wambaugh movie where cops would go through all this ugly stuff in the course of their shift, and then they would get together after and they would go to a bar somewhere and they would drink and talk about all the things that happened during the night.
It's our kind of therapy. It's police therapy, so to speak. But Andrea, I want to just say how honored I am to be here on Profiling Evil with you and Mike and your sister. Your accomplishment today is just so unbelievable. And your strength and all of you that you've been through and to go forward and do what you've done. I commend you, and I'm 60 years young. I've seen so much terrible things in my time, and reading Mike's book and talking to Mike about you and seeing you on Dr. Phil and so forth with Mike. I followed your story, and I say this to you. Hoorah! Congratulations. You're just
amazing. Thank you. Wow.
And I don't know if you can see the comments that are coming in, but people are so happy for you, and I'm so happy. Laura, most of the kids that were in this little group where we first came to know each other, many never got beyond a third grade education. I mean, how monumental is it that something like this happened? And what kind of I'm just so proud of Andrea.
She just understood that education was key to changing and understanding the world, and she put in the grit and the effort, and kudos on her. That's hard work, but awesome. I was there when she walked for her bachelor's at Berkeley, and that was amazing. So
thank you, Laura.
Just watching that commencement, it gave me the chills, and I was just so happy for you, and happy for everything that you've been through. And this is such a win for you. I mean, I'm
greedy. Was mad that we kind of got screwed over in our childhood with all this stuff, especially education. And I just took my anger and I used that fuel to go get 2 degrees with no elementary education. I mean, learning algebra in my 30s for the first time, having never gone to school, is one of the hardest things I've ever done on this planet. Like excruciatingly hard.
She lost hair during that. Handfuls of hair were falling out.
Am I allowed to say this? You're a badass.
Thank you. Yes. Well, thank you very much.
Now, Ron, it's taken me
Sorry, Mike.
at least 5 years to get the girls to quit swearing on my channel whenever they come on. So
I'm usually the offender.
Use the bleep button. You're a badass.
But I think you said something really interesting there, and maybe Laura, you could talk on that a little bit. But these Andrea and Laura were brought into a cult because of their parents, and it was a cult that later I was fortunate to be able to help tear apart. But Laura, give people a sense of the fact that this disconnect that happens in the life of people who are involved in cults. Because we're looking at the Daybell trial right now, and I don't know if either of you have been watching any of that, but it's a religious motivated cult. It's a very much like in the beginnings of what the Zion Society became. It has many of the same cult characteristics, but why don't you just explain a little bit about the coercive control that goes on day by day, what an average day would look like for you kids when you were children living in that environment?
We would schedule every minute of our day on a piece of paper that had block out times of 15 minutes. So the day before, we would have to schedule our day for the next day. And, you know, we would kind of have our focuses. I spent a lot of time in the gardens. Andrew spent a lot of time in the sewing rooms. But basically, our education was that God will teach you what you need to know, and God is your teacher. So that was the basis of education, the level of education. So just listen to God, and that's your teacher.
And who was God?
That's a loaded question.
Yeah, I know. Someone was always mad at you. I can tell you that. Like a lot of guilt and shame. Like this creature in the sky, it was like kind of a DICK. So there you go.
Here's the
I mean,
button.
that's how you felt about. That's how I felt about it. So, but you better make him happy somehow, or you're just not going to get into heaven. That was what our mother trained us to believe. Yeah.
You know, Ron, one of the things that was so troubling to me when I first learned about it, and maybe Andrea, you could just chat about it for a second, was the structure of what time you woke up, what you did throughout the day, what time you went to bed. But then with all of that, having this self-proclaimed prophet who's a dumpy old guy my age telling you what you should weigh. I don't know, Andrea, why don't you share some thoughts there?
Like Laura was saying, like it was a military scheduling thing where what did we do? We made our bodies ready to be sexually assaulted. So we bathed twice a day, beautiful hair, makeup, everything. We meditated, we cleaned the house, we did like yard work and sewing and take care of the little kids and like canned food for the apocalypse. I mean, just activity after activity so that it kept us distracted. You know, what was the next question you asked me? I forgot.
Oh no, Ron, any thoughts? I mean, this is about graduation, not about the cult. Other than, to me, this is such an amazing transformation in all their lives. Laura is the manager of one of the largest restaurants in our community and has run that thing for, I don't know how many years as manager, Laura.
I've been the general manager for 19-ish years. Yeah, and I've worked for them for 30 years.
Absolutely incredible. Many of these women worked hourly jobs for most of their life while they figured out how to even get along in society. And think about it, being raised like we're seeing what's going on with other cults, the FLDS or the Daybells, or there's a level of mind coercion and control and separation from the real world that when you acclimate into the world, it's kind of hard, isn't it, Andrea?
Oh, it's impossible. It's not like you're disassociated, you're depressed, you have no idea what just happened to you, and you don't have any life skills whatsoever, except for, unfortunately, how to be sexy. Like I was aware that I had that as a life skill, but that was it. And so I just remember struggling for so many years, just trying to figure out how to be a human in society.
It just makes me say how much more amazing it is that you were able to go on and be successful. Because Mike, before we came live in our pre-discussion, you were telling me that a very high percentage of these young girls, go on to not continue on with any education and have lifelong struggles with just dealing with this. And so I keep tipping my cap to you because you've defied the odds. So kudos to you. Again, you're a badass, and I really think, tremendously that you are a role model to some of the people who are out there looking at this and may see this and say, hey, look, she did it. Maybe I could try it, Thank
you so much. And I've written a memoir for my thesis project for my grad program, and I'll be writing a book number 2 about how I healed from all that trauma. And so, yeah, I'm going to share and talk, and hopefully I will inspire people to just hustle out the life that they want. I did it, and I think other people can do it too.
Yeah.
I want you to know I gave Laura about 15 minutes notice that I wanted her to come on, and the rest of the girls are sending me some kind of mean-spirited notes about the fact that they actually have other things going on and they can't just jump on at this very moment. But you're getting responses back from all of them, and so please know. And I think you may have seen I send out your little walk to the girls today.
That's sweet. Yeah.
But we Bonnie and I felt so bad we couldn't be with you, but what a special day, and we are just busting at the seams.
Mike, you're with me in spirit. It was so fun to be sitting there and receiving text from you. And I was like, he's so here with me, like excited. I could feel you. And it so warmed my heart. And thank you. Thank you.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Laura, anything you want to say before I send you two off into, I think Andrea probably would like to go celebrate somewhere. And the fact that she had to wait and come on here with two old dusty guys is really not fair, but
it might be cozy pajamas for her.
Laura knows me well.
Glass of wine and cozy pajamas sounds good. Mike, a lot of people in the chat are trying to figure out how you're connected into this. Can you expand on a little bit of how? I read the book, but
you know what? I'm going to let Andrea expand on how we all came to know each other. That might be better.
Okay. So if y'all don't know yet, my sister and I were abducted by a sex cult called the Zion Society. And we were there for almost 5 years until one warm August morning in 91, I was yanked out of bed by a policeman who was not Mike, but Mike was the amazing angel in my life that spearheaded the whole investigation. And he's the reason that ended and that I'm now here today. So I don't really remember interactions with him except for when he came back. I don't know how much later it was after the raid. You came back and knocked on the door that I was living in. And you were the devil. You're the devil incarnate to our brainwashed minds. And I said very little to you and probably slammed the door in your face. And then didn't see you again for 30 years. But I love you so much. Thank you for rescuing
That is true. And, Ron, it was interesting because I had packed away everything on this case and had no intention of even talking about the case. I suggested on Dr. Phil that there were more than 4,000 rapes of children in this cult by the time that we did the raid. And we raided this place with 70 police officers, 70, wow. Taking down the entire complex. But the girls were on the show pretty quick to say, double it and you might start getting close. You as children were subjected daily to abuse.
Absolutely. Recently, just as a result of some healing work I was doing, I had the idea to calculate how many potential hours I was essentially laying on my back, having a huge variety of people assaulting me. And I came up with roughly 1,000, which I feel like is like conservative too. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, so I have something kind of exciting to show both of you. Now, Laura may be aware of this. I don't know, but Ron, we have been, and folks, please buy Deceived. because the funds from Deceived are going to build a brand new children's advocacy center. And the children from the Zion Society cult were the first children through the second Children's Justice Center in America 34 years ago or so. And talk about a baptism by fire. Those caseworkers ended up with this horrendous case, but Bonnie and I decided at the prompting of the girls to write the book, we decided that it wouldn't be right to take the proceeds from that. So we've pushed all of the proceeds toward building a brand new Children's Justice Center that actually broke ground about 9 weeks ago. And so I'm going to just put a little video up while you ask a few questions, Ron, because I got to find out what I did here.
So as Mike toys with technology, we continue to push on. But I'm so glad that I asked that question to the listening audience. I was watching our live chatters and they were like, how is Mike King involved in this? So that people weren't even aware that, like, they thought, you know, maybe this is just somebody that you grabbed and brought on the channel. Yeah. I'm glad that I spoke up and I tried to like speak out of order, but I that's what I do, you know. But the real thing is that there's so many more of these stories out there, and they're happening in different various corners of the United States and across the world for that matter. And us as retired law enforcement officers, we try to go out there, but we need the help of the public. If you see something, say something, you know, speak up, shout it from the rooftops. Mike, you got it going.
Just keep talking, Ron. So Andrea, Laura, this is the new Children's Justice Center. Ground has been broken. They're digging. I was out there a couple of weeks ago just to fly it real quickly. Isn't this a beautiful place? It's cool. Overlooking the canyon and the river down below. There are walkways and places where caseworkers and the children who come in will be able to see the area. This is our community, Ron. So this is what real living looks like. It's not Long Island and it's not New York City, but this is life in the Rocky Mountains.
East Hampton out there? I'm seeing East Hampton. Oh no, we're in Utah. Yeah, this is beautiful setting, and yeah, it's great to see that, Mike. It's great that you took the drone out there and shot that. We got a football field in the background and a university. Wonderful.
And then I'm going to just pop up one more picture here, and then I'm going to let these two go. But this coming up,
Mike,
for everybody that's
the restaurant is where I can come to get the free meals.
Well, I don't know about free, and you want to tip really heavily because I don't know if Laura gets commission out of it, but sorry, Ron, I didn't mean to. I was trying to drop the video, not you.
It's okay. Sorry.
This is for everyone who might be interested, and I'll put the QR code up so you can buy the book, folks, if you're interested, and I'll even sign it. But this is the Children's Justice Center that is being built right now, and it should be done in about 9 months.
Wow.
So, and we're going to bring in all the kids, and I call these beautiful 45-plus-year-old women kids. So please forgive me, but isn't that
it's okay.
And the idea, Ron, is that a child would come in the front door pretty broken, having endured physical, sexual, or emotional abuse, would go through forensic examinations, no longer a cop in a smoke-filled police station interviewing the child, but a forensic psychologist doing the interviews, a physical exam, meeting with the lawyers and preparing for trial so that they understand what they're up against in trial, and then hopefully going out the back door a whole lot healthier than they walked in. So pretty exciting all in all to
it's a blessing. That's a blessing. I mean, I got the chills hearing you describe that, Mike, because we need so much of that across the United States, not just in Utah, but we need a lot more of that. And that's a start to give these children a chance. And when you said the various different things that they've endured, it could be all of the above. And that is not an easy thing. And she's walking proof of it. You know, it's a lifelong struggle that you have to deal with. And nobody knows until you walk in those shoes. So this is a great thing. This is just so, I'm so honored to just be here with you guys tonight. And really, it's just amazing, Mike.
Well, Laura, I'm going to give you the last word. I'm going to give Andrea the first word before we drop the two of you off. But just pass on my love and our love. You know how Bonnie and I feel about you guys. So, Andrea, anything you want to say before, and we'll get you back, because as we get this closer to doing the Children's Justice Center, we're gonna actually have everyone there to talk with the press, Ron, and it's going to be pretty exciting. We're also releasing a brand new podcast at the end of the year that will be put out by one of the big houses, and we're in the middle of recording that right now, and it'll all hopefully be kind of dovetailed with the opening of the Children's Justice Center so that we can push more donations toward the Justice Center. So
I'll share it on my channel. Just let me know when that drops, and I would love to give it out to my 300,000 subscribers. I'm so happy to do that. So
wonderful. Well, Andrea, it's all yours. You're the graduate and you're in charge.
Mike, I'm just so happy to see you, and thanks for having us on. And Ron, you're so sweet, and I just appreciate kind of the gratitude, because it fuels me to realize that I'm not, like, none of my efforts are wasted, and I know that, but it just helps to know that all my effort going to grad school and my plans to write and to, like, be a big voice about trauma healing, I'm going to do it. And I'm just really appreciate all of you sitting here. And so memoir, the fifth draft is done, looking for a publisher, and just started my Andrea Lithgow Instagram. So if you want to, that'll be like my writing, let's heal some trauma page, if anybody wants to follow me there. So I'm
text me right now, Andrea. Text me the link to that, and I'll put it in the chat box.
Thank you.
And I'll link it on my channel too, so everybody can go over there.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I just started it, so it's a little empty, but I know I needed to do it. And so that's this. I don't know if that works. Does that work if it's not the actual Instagram link, or does it need to be the Instagram link? That's my handle.
Mike is text challenge, so it may take a little while.
Yeah, you're dealing with, it's like training a monkey on this end of the stick.
I'm a techno challenge person.
Okay, here it is. So folks, if you go to @Andrea_Lithgow, you'll be able to get her information. We'll also put it in the description area down below. And are you doing any jewelry?
I'm still doing jewelry, but just want to be a writer and like a public speaker, and let's heal some trauma voice on this planet, because
So Andrea makes some of the most beautiful jewelry, and we'll put that link into. So dandy jewelry, and you can go online and order and pick out things and beautiful stuff.
Thanks for having us, Mike, and Ron was.
Oh no,
I'm following you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna build it, and they will come.
Now, Laura, I wanted you to take the last moments, because you're a little bit older than Andrea, and you were able to kind of see this whole evolution of things going from ideas to becoming really happenings inside the Zion Society, and had to watch things kind of as a teenager becoming an adult, which was the reason why you were away at work that morning.
Yes, that was my escape at that point in my life. So I worked as many hours as I could. Mm-hmm. I don't know what to say about that. Just, I think I've blocked out so much of it because it was so traumatic, that it's kind of a blur looking back. And Andrea's way further on her healing journey than I am and can talk about it a lot more than myself.
Yeah, but you're a superhero as well. You know, because you're a successful woman, you know, and you're doing things. You didn't just curl up into a ball and say, "Poor me." So I say, and look, you can tell me I'm wrong, but I don't think so. You've been at your career and your profession for quite some time, and you know, kudos to you too. You're one of the silent sentinels out there doing it. So God bless.
Thank you, Ron.
We be at my
And I might just
am
tell
a
you,
fighter.
Ron, Laura is so amazing. She actually introduced what happened in her life in a peculiar way through a book club, and she had her book club read Deceived, and at the end revealed who she
Hosted,
was.
yeah. Uh-huh.
Things that make you go, interesting.
Yeah, that
So,
was
Do you have
jury
social
book
media
club.
that we can all follow? Do you have social media that we can all follow? No.
No, I don't.
Okay. I was trying.
Thank you.
you don't know how big this is that Laura got on with us tonight, Ron. So
It
I'm
is.
just so thrilled.
I think she's awesome. They're both awesome. So
Yeah. All right. I'm going to let you two go. Just know how much I love you. And Bonnie sends her love. And this whole chat full of people is sending love. So
Thank you so
thanks.
much.
And we'll talk soon.
bless
Right.
you.
Congratulations, Andrea. I love you.
Love you. Bye.
Mike, unbelievable. What great guests.
Aren't they something?
I'm floored. I mean, I want to know more. I want to read more. I want to get myself educated on this. I want to help if I can. So,
Well, thank you for entertaining that, because we had a lot of things we wanted to talk about, and I thought, how can I allow this day to go by without bringing it up and saying something? And I'm going to just put this up because, folks, this same QR code will get you the book for $20, or you can donate this way and get 4 coasters and 4 stickers and a pen. Who doesn't want swag like this, Ron?
you're going to Crime Con?
And yeah, and I'm going to be at Crime Con.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, they've got me doing a couple of sessions there, and I'm looking forward to being there. But folks, if you're interested, just go there, or just go to profilingevil.com and order the book. But just know that we're so excited to push forward the Children's Justice Center. And Ron, I'm going to just leave whatever questions you might have. And I've been a horrible host tonight because I haven't been putting people's questions up. So,
Mike, can I get a pen?
absolutely. You don't even. I already owe you for so many things.
I'm only kidding. What a fabulous hour. Well, time well spent. And you know what, Mike? I love this type of exposure for these ladies. I mean, I would have stayed here for another hour if you were if you were going to do this with them. Getting the word out and talking about young women like this that have gone through childhood of hell is just something that we need to talk more and more about. And I again tip my cap to them, and I tip my cap to you for your investigation that you did. And like she said, she never saw you, but the people who you sent out, you saved these girls. And it's part of the things that we don't look to get recognition for. And I know that you only started talking about this in your retired life. So kudos to you and everything that you do, Mike. I am honored to be part of your Profiling Evil community, and I thank you for your friendship.
Oh, my goodness. You were the first person I called when I thought I might try this YouTube world out. And you have been a dear friend through the entire thing. It's been so fun to watch you grow. And as you brought Ed on, it added this side that was so needed. And I just have been thrilled watching what's going on. Let me just see if there are a couple of comments here just before we sign off. And
I'd like to play a little thing. We won't get a copyright strike, I promise. Oh, bad boys, bad boys.
Here's Sarah saying she worked at a hospital and saw a lot of children going through. Yeah, thanks so much for that. People are saying they want some links. We'll put some links down below. How many of those years do either of you remember? Well, that's there are a lot of things. I hear former colleagues talk about stories that I'd forgotten that some I wish would never be remembered. But
I want to, as you look at the chat, I want to talk about our choir practice in the NYPD, and it did involve going to after our 4 to 12, it would turn into a 4x4. So we would stay from 4 to 12, we'd do our shift, and then 4 o'clock in the morning we'd leave the gin mill or wherever we go, and sometimes we'd even go to an open lot and crack open a couple of beers and talk about the shift and talk about what we did that night. And when I said that it was our own way of, our own therapy, it in a sense it was, because a lot of people ask us, Mike, how did you deal with such horror in your career? And a lot of it had to do with leaning on our fellow brothers and sisters. And it wasn't just the guys, it was the men and women who we shared shifts with, and we were shared radio cars with. We would go out and talk about some of the horrors that we saw, and you don't want to bring it all home to your family. And my wife was Janine, God bless her, she was a great support staff for me, but I relied heavily on my fellow brothers and sisters in blue, and the nurses and the EMTs and the paramedics. They all hung out with us, and the firemen. So it was a camaraderie that was like no other. And when we would do those choir practices after the shifts, everybody would show up, and you never knew who was going to be there. And even some of the bosses would show up because they too needed to decompress. So
exactly. Ron, that's really interesting that you'd say that, because you see things as a police officer that you don't even tell your family about.
No.
That you can only tell somebody else who's been there. And I actually bumped into one of my rookies a few months ago, and he reminded me of an experience, and I'll just share this experience, and then I wonder if you'd mind maybe share one of yours, and then we'll call it a night.
Sure.
But there are triggering things that happen when you go into especially death scenes. And I had a new trainee with me, and he was probably in his third month of law enforcement by this point, had been through the academy, and we walked through the front door of a home on an attempt suicide call, and I immediately could taste the iron in the air from blood. And unless you have been in a home where, especially on a hot summer night, where there's been a huge amount of blood, that triggered in me immediately. And I turned to him and I said, somebody's down. And he's like, how do you know that? And I could taste the blood in the air. And you don't sit down at the park and share that with people.
And you don't certainly share that with your significant other,
no.
or family members who are not in law enforcement. So it's not something you sit around and talk about at the Thanksgiving Day dinner table, So it's important. It's an important outlet that we use choir practice, our get-togethers after. And they weren't every day, folks. It was, we would take sometimes, a Thursday or a Friday, or it was like one shift out of our whole swing that we would do this. So I don't want people to get the thoughts that cops are just going out after every shift and drinking all night, but we would have that one day a week to decompress. And that's why Mike chooses it on a Monday night. And you can't have a choir practice every night, otherwise then you have a problem. So again, our memories sometimes fade, but my response to the World Trade Center the day our country was attacked is like no other. And yes, I've been a part of hundreds of crime scenes, because when I started as a New York City police officer in 1991, we had 2,200 murders in New York City. And that continued until 1995. It was on a slow decline, but in 1995, I think we had 1,960 homicides, and then it just kept going down. But those years of my rookie years where I was on patrol, I was responding to sometimes 3 and 4 homicides a week, sometimes doubles in one shift. Sometimes I would do one scene, and then at the back end of it, we would just be getting relief, and I would have another one, and it would keep me there for 24 hours straight sometimes. So the stories can go on, and I don't want to, bore your audience with these stories, but Mike,
I don't think it would ever bore them.
we take them with us. They stay with us forever. I will, in my rocking chair, I'll be remembering some of the things that I was a part of. And I say this, I left the police department as a proud New York City police detective, and I continue to talk about my service in my retirement. And I'll do this as long as I can continue to do it and bring those stories to my community, my friends, my people who subscribe and follow what I do. And, that's what both Ed and I do. So.
No, it's awesome. Ron, we didn't even talk about Daybell tonight. We got to do this again.
Do it again.
Folks from Profiling Evil and from DutyRon, thank you so much for sticking around. Thanks for your support over the years. It's been nice because I think, Ron, we're growing at steady but not rapid paces. And that tells me that we're getting a message across in a way that's not sensationalizing, but is actually hopefully somewhat educational and balanced. And I really appreciate the fact that you have always strived for that as well in your work. So thanks for your friendship. Thanks for serving when you did. And thanks for continuing to bring out even the bad, but bringing out all the good that law enforcement does.
Honored to be here, Mike, and honored to be a friend. So thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Watch for us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, of course, Twitter. And if you like audio podcasts, make sure you're checking out Profiling Evil audio podcasts and watch for Gardens of Evil coming in December or January. They won't tell me when, but we're really excited about it. And Ron, from all of us, thanks. We'll see you at the next crime scene.
Stay safe.